Not great, Bob. Not great, Bob.
It's about I gotta say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
Being able to run as he shoots the moon to the fans here in Green Bay.
That is a disgusting act by Randy Moss.
This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. Come back.
This is BS Sports.
And away we go. I forgot to do that again. Welcome in, welcome all. We are back once again. What an exciting weekend it was, but not for me. Well, I mean, a little bit for me. Lions victory over the Vikings. They get their 12th win of the season. Unfortunately, they lose Sam Laporta, most likely for the wildcard game. We'll talk about that game in a little bit. The NFL season, regular season, I should say, officially ends. We enter into the postseason. 18 weeks ago, roughly today, I don't know, roughly, we were unknown as to what we were going to get. We didn't think these teams that I'm going to talk about would be where they are. Well, some of them we did, but, certainly some of them we did not. And then the big news in college football, Michigan winning their first national championship since 1997. Their first unanimous, I think, since like 60-something. And we got a little bit more stuff to talk about with the Pistons. Cade Cunningham, dead. I'm wearing my Pistons stuff because they're playing a game. And I figured I hadn't worn the Ben Wallace shirt in a while, so why not go all out Pistons garb for tonight's show? Mostly I was thinking because it would be highly embarrassing, but you know what? We're already here, and let's just get started. Let's just jump right in. So, headliner, NFL playoffs. That's what we're going to start with, okay? We're going to talk about it right now, right here. So we have a couple of things. I'll start with the actual playoffs themselves, and then we'll kind of reel it back as far as should we start with the playoffs? Should we? No, let's start with the final week of the NFL season. We'll break that down, and then we'll take a look at the playoffs, and then, even more fun, we'll take a look at the predictions that I and our good friend Seth, who has not been with us in several months, but hopefully he'll be back soon. Home Depot has just been working that man like a dog, and it's starting to affect him, I think. But anyway, let's just start with this week in the NFL because there was a lot of crazy things. First thing I got to talk about, Jacksonville. What happened? What I'm out of words. I'm out of words. And we're going to allude to it a little bit when we do this, when we do the reactions. The Jacksonville Jaguars are, in my opinion, one of the most disappointing teams this season in the NFL. I mean, to not even make the playoffs after that miraculous comeback win against the Los Angeles Chargers last year, to play Patrick Mahomes, who would soon be the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, pretty much down to the wire, to come out the following year and have Trevor Lawrence take the step back that he did is no bueno. It's no bueno. And I want to break down Trevor Lawrence a little bit here because his last few games, he didn't win a single game the entire month of December. Just that to me is inexcusable for the team, let alone for him individually. But he never threw for 300 yards. The most yards he threw the entire time was 280 yards in the final game where he threw 2 interceptions. He had he had 2 games out of the final 5 games that he lost all of where he did not throw an interception. The other games, he threw upwards of 3 interceptions. Against the Browns, he threw 3 interceptions. Against the Buccaneers, he threw a couple of interceptions. Against the Titans, he threw a couple of interceptions. He hadn't had a game where he didn't throw an interception since December 17th. That's nearly a month away, folks. I mean, we're like a week away from that being 1 month ago before he had thrown not thrown an interception. And I really like Trevor Lawrence. I mean, Clemson, he was unbelievable, national champion, obviously. He's one of the more interesting quarterbacks in this league, but you just can't be throwing 21 touchdowns to 14 interceptions in this league and expect to be a superstar quarterback. It's just not going to happen. And the team itself, they fired their entire defensive staff, which I get it. Somebody's got to get fired when you don't make the playoffs, in my opinion, assuming you're not in a rebuild stage. But even then, the changes have to be made one way or the other, right? But this was just so underwhelming. And to lose to a Titans team that was playing for nothing. They were playing for nothing. Like, it just doesn't make a whole lick of sense to me how you just allow that to happen. I get it's on the road. I get it's the NFL, any given Sunday. But you're supposed to be – I had the Jacksonville Jaguars being this division winner. They didn't even win the division. I mean, it's just given the situation in this division where you had 2 out of the 4 teams starting rookie quarterbacks, and then actually even 3 out of the 4 teams because you had Will Levis starting a little bit for the Titans. And the fact that you couldn't win this division, Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars, they had the most experienced quarterback starting. I mean, I guess Ryan Tannehill was the starter initially for the Titans, but you get my point. Like, you were going in, what was the rest of their schedule like? I mean, hold on, let me just take a gander here. Like, they were going in to when was this? Hold on. I wish I could get this is much better, actually. They were going in to the month of November 6-2. They left after the month of November, or once the month of November started, they won just 3 total games. One of which was against Carolina. They won. Magical. Magical stuff. And by the way, Trevor Lawrence didn't even play that game. So Trevor Lawrence lost 5 games out of the 5 games he started from the month of December to the end of the season. I really hope that he's not Blaine Gabbert 2.0, but the way the Jags fell apart this season, he might be Blaine Gabbert 2.0. But still a long career ahead of you for you, Jacksonville. But another team that is just absolutely pathetic, the Philadelphia Eagles. And you know what? I take great joy in this because I hate Philadelphia. I hate all their teams. I hate their fans. I think they're a bunch of animals, and I think they should be locked away in an asylum. So to see this team full of, crazy people who throw snowballs at Santa Claus and batteries at Santa Claus, I think you're getting exactly what you deserve. And frankly, this team is so pathetic. Like, this team went from NFC champion, elite in the NFC, nobody can step to them, to 5-4 on the road, 11-6 on the year, top wild card team, Marcus Mariota is your leading passer Sunday. I mean, like, what? When I say that this team is pathetic, I mean, I don't know who they could beat at this point. Like, you lose to the Giants. Tyrod Taylor and Tommy DeVito beat you. You lost to a team that had no business winning that game, a team you had beaten earlier in the season with the division on the line. You had everything to play for, and you lose. You get shut out 24-0 in the half, and then make some comeback in the second half, scoring 10 total points. And your starting quarterback leaves the game in Jalen Hurts. And A.J. Brown leaves the game. Your wide receiver 1. Allegedly, though. I don't even know what's going on there. I don't know why Jalen Hurts doesn't throw the ball to A.J. Brown more often. I don't know what this offense is thinking, why they're not scheming plays around A.J. Brown and, Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith. Like, you have elite weapons in Philly. And for whatever reason, they're just not putting it together. And that defense, oh, man, when I saw that Matt Patricia was the one calling that defense, hey, you just hate to see it. You just hate to see it. What do you know? One of the biggest phonies in the history of the NFL, Matt Patricia, calling your defense. Of course it's going to be terrible. Of course. Not to mention you lose all that secondary. Darius Slay gone. C.J. Gardner-Johnson lost in free agency. How's that feel? I'm sure you guys are loving. I'm sure you guys love how terrible he was, right? When he signed with Detroit, all Philly fans are talking about how terrible he was. Boy, you probably wish he was on your team right now, because you're losing games by double digits to teams who have no business winning, have no incentive to win. But all that to say that the Eagles are playing the Buccaneers this Monday. They're playing Monday night. They're going to be on long rest. Plenty of time to get healthy if you need to get healthy. Obviously, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, hopefully they're okay for that game. Frankly, even if they are okay for that game, I'm taking the Buccaneers. I will get to the pick'em at the end of the show, but I'm taking the Buccaneers. I mean, like, this Philly team is pathetic. They're just straight pathetic. Their coaches are, I like Nick Sirianni. I think he's got the passion. I think he's got the heart. I think players like him. But you got to fix your crew. You got to get Matt Patricia out of this room. The fact that you said, hey, you know what we'll do? We'll switch defensive coordinator and defensive play calling duties to Matt Patricia. Like, everybody in the NFL, especially us Lions fans, know just how terrible of a Matt Patricia defense is. Like, I can go on and on about the Eagles, but they do have the playoff experience. They have the clout. Jalen Hurts, he's giving me question marks, okay? He was really good last year, but, now we got 2 out of the 3 seasons of Jalen Hurts where he's been largely underwhelming as a quarterback. We had the one season last year where he was an MVP candidate, if not for one Patrick Mahomes. But I don't know. I don't know if Jalen Hurts is the guy. I think it's more likely that he is. But if he has another first-round exit this year, let alone to the same team that beat him 2 years ago in the Buccaneers, it's not looking good. It's not looking good for Philly. So, yeah, that's fun. Then we got a few other things to note. Division winners, playoff spots, and we'll get into the playoff preview / prediction. Well, we won't get into the predictions. Will be at the end of the show, but we'll get into that soon. I forgot to turn Discord on Do Not Disturb. I don't think that was even heard, but if it was heard, I apologize to anyone who just had a heart attack of Discord notification. No. So we got a couple of teams that I don't think anybody at about November thought were going to win the division, except for one. I thought one of these teams was going to win. First, it's Houston Texans. Houston Texans, Saturday night, game I didn't get to watch, all transparency. Houston Texans went and pulled it out. They beat the Indianapolis Colts. They clinched that playoff spot, and then their good old buddies, the Jacksonville Jaguars, went and lost. And I said, I don't remember when it was, but you can go back, watch the tape. I said, hey, man, this Texans team has an avenue to win this division. And, hey, I went in not expecting much of the Houston Texans because I didn't believe C.J. Stroud was going to be a good quarterback. I was very wrong. C.J. Stroud is not only a good quarterback, he's a very, very good quarterback. He is their franchise guy. They have seemingly replaced Deshaun Watson in Houston, and they're firing away. Devin Singletary, Nico Collins, and they don't even have Tank Dell. They lost him. I mean, this is a very good Houston team that I think next year could certainly be a major threat if they make the right moves. Young coach, young team. Stroud's upside, if he develops the right way, I mean, he's gonna be really good. But Houston winning this division, to me, it's not like that amazing in that, they went 10-7, they're 4-4 on the road. Like they're not a finished product, but D'Amico Collins, I mean, I think he would be my coach of the year personally, and that's no bias against, I love Dan Campbell, but I think the job D'Amico Ryans did with that team, with a rookie quarterback, team that had basically no expectations going in, and they pull out not just a playoff berth, but a division win with a rookie quarterback, that's pretty rare. Like that's not easy to do. I really can't. I can't even think of the last time that a rookie quarterback won the division. I'm sure there's some stat on it, but I genuinely do not remember. But for the Colts, on the flip side, it's rough, but they also outperformed expectations. I thought they were going to be one of the worst teams in the league. I did not believe in Anthony Richardson. I thought it was not going to work out, and to an extent, it hasn't worked out because he got hurt. But I kind of anticipated that a little bit. But again, their coaching, they figured it out as well. I mean, like they got it pretty good. So this AFC South, it was a weird division this year, but it could be a powerhouse in the next few years. Maybe if the Jacksonville Jaguars, they figure it out, talk about the Titans in a little bit because they're doing things. But Colts, Texans, Jags, that could be three very good teams if they figure it out and move in the right direction. But the other team that I don't think anybody expected to win their division this year, given the way things were going, was the Bills. Now, I did call the Bills winning this game. I picked them in the last week in the pick'em, but it's still amazing to me that they won this division. I mean, this game was, not exactly like a shootout, but I'm sorry, Miami, what happened? You let your foot off the gas completely. I mean, you scored in just 1 out of 4 quarters the entire game, and you think you're going to beat a team like the Bills who have experience, who have been to the playoffs, who have won this division? Like, it's just not going to work. And unfortunately for Miami, they're encountering a lot of injuries right now. Guys are not performing at the level they need to. They're losing guys on defense. It's not a good situation. But the collapse to me, that is what is bad. Like the collapses are always indicative of the kind of team that you are, right? I think of like right now the Bills, despite having the same record as the Dolphins, and obviously they won the division, the Bills look far and away like the better team because they were in that collapsing mode early in the season. They were rough. It was 6-6 at Thanksgiving, I believe. And they just put it together. They just went out and said, all right, time to go and win out. And that's what they did. They go and they win 5 straight in the month of December, and that's it. They lose that overtime thriller to the Eagles. That's a game they probably wish they could have back, but it's just I really think this Bills team, like they feel a little bit like a team of destiny. Now, that's sort of how a lot of playoff teams feel in general, but I would not want to face the Bills right now because they are red hot. They're starting to utilize the run game a little bit more. They're, spreading the ball around. It's not just Steph Diggs, although I think they should use Steph Diggs a little bit more. But it's not just Steph Diggs. It's a variety of guys. It's, Shakir. It's Gabe Davis. It's Kincaid. It's Dawson Knox. It's James Cook who's come onto the scene. And then obviously Josh Allen with his legs. I mean, he was the leading rusher of this game. He ran for 67 yards. But yeah, I think this is and it's surprising, but I did think the Bills were going to be a good team this year. I didn't think they were going to be 11-6. I thought they'd be way better, but it is what it is. And they're in the playoffs, and now they're 1 out of 7 teams, right? 1 out of 7 teams that's going to go to the Super Bowl on the AFC side. So you got to like those odds. The Bills have the experience, and I don't know if they will do it this year. I think Baltimore is a very, very scary team, but we know that Baltimore and Lamar Jackson doesn't have a great record in the playoffs. Granted, neither does Josh Allen. Those two teams meet. I don't know what's going to happen. I truly don't. But we now get to what is I guess kind of the sad part of the end of the season. Sad in a certain way. Sad in that a lot of people are losing their jobs. And that's never a good thing to see. It is important to remember. I understand, and I'm guilty of this as well. I understand people are passionate about their sports teams. People are passionate about being good and successful, and they don't like when coaches or GMs or staff are terrible at their job and they just want to see them get fired. It is important to understand that for the most part, a lot of these are pretty regular or good people. Respectable people who have families and, children and wives and parents and all that. Now, it's not to say that they're going to be poor. They're not, but it's still a very stressful situation. Well, that being said, let's get into it. So first things first, the Falcons fire Arthur Smith. So Smith was the coach for 3 years, and it was 3 very mediocre years. As far as how I feel about this, I don't see Arthur Smith getting another job as a head coach. Maybe a coordinator. It's weird, though. Like, I kind of thought the Falcons would be an interesting team this year. I mean, they upgrade that running room, which is already really good. And Arthur Smith was utilizing the run game very well last year with the Falcons. And then this year, like, there's so many weapons on that staff. So many weapons. And unfortunately, they didn't really have much of a quarterback. Where they were running it with Desmond Ridder or, Taylor Heineke. Not exactly the most endearing group for quarterback, but you have Bijan, you have Kyle Pitts, you have a lot of weapons on this Falcons team. I think whoever takes this over as the head coach, I feel like it's got to be a job where you got to make an immediate impact. And for Atlanta, I think that's what you got to be thinking. You can't be thinking this is a rebuild. This is not a rebuild. This is a team that, with talent, the talent that they have, if they can upgrade their defense as well, this is a team that should be making the playoffs. Plain and simple. I mean, the weird thing is they had a chance to win their division this year. Like, they were in the division hunt up until the final week. But didn't work out. So Arthur Smith gone. The other one that's gone, and this one is upsetting, not because, like, I didn't expect it, but more like, why did it have to happen this late? Like, why? What was the point of it? It's the Commanders. Fire Ron Rivera. So my thing was, okay, you have a new ownership group, and they're coming in, and they're trying to reestablish the culture here. They're trying to set things up. Like, there was no way, short of the Commanders being a 10-plus win playoff team, where Ron Rivera was sticking around. And especially when you go and you sell at the trade deadline, you get rid of your 2 best defensive players in Chase Young and Montez Sweat, and then you just completely fall apart from there. Like, there was no winning for Ron Rivera in this situation. I think it's a little unfair to him. Like, I don't think he's like a great head coach anymore at this point. Like, he's sort of past his prime, but he's an experienced head coach. I mean, some people might forget he went to the Super Bowl with Cam Newton. I mean, like, those Carolina Panther teams in the 2010s were good. But I mean, I don't know where he would go. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes another head coaching job in the NFL. At the same time, I also wouldn't be surprised if he says, you know what, I'm just going to retire. I think this is it for me. I had a nice career in the NFL as a coach, couple of great years in Carolina. Obviously, he had the playoff run with the Commanders back when they were in 2020. I mean, like, He had the division. Like he is a good coach, but I think, at this point, he certainly needed to change the scenery. And maybe he takes a job in one of the vacancies, but we'll see. We'll see. He's certainly a name to keep an eye out one way or the other wherever he goes. Maybe he goes into the analyst route. Maybe he goes front office. Maybe he goes and he coaches college. I don't know. Sometimes you see guys in the pros, they decide that they want to go coach a small school in a small college. But we'll see. This is not coach related, but the Panthers fire their GM. 3 years spent with the team, and well, you can see why. They won just 2 games this season. The Panthers were the worst team in the league, and the main claim to fame of this general manager was trading up to take Bryce Young, who was one of the single worst rookie quarterbacks I've ever seen, and I didn't really have much faith in Bryce Young being a great NFL quarterback to begin with, and they went and they traded all these assets, and now Chicago Bears sitting with a pick that should be their first overall pick to take, a guy like, Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels or, any of these high caliber quarterback, but they don't have it anymore. And so Panthers, David Tepper said, enough. Now, here's the thing. If I'm a Panthers fan, I'm happy because, GM obviously didn't do a very good job. You need to hire a new guy. Maybe this is the moment where David Tepper can avenge himself. I highly doubt it. It seems to me that David Tepper does not have much of an interest in hiring true football guys. He wants to hire guys that he can get along with, that he can, command over, the coach, Frank Reich, who he also fired earlier this year, Frank Reich wanted CJ Stroud. And David Tepper said, no, I want Bryce Young. And David Tepper got his way because the GM was not going to overstep the owner's word. And, well, you fire the guy who made the mistakes that you basically pushed him to do. So, do I think this Panthers GM is going to get a job somewhere else? Probably not. But I don't think he was exactly in a great situation. So now you got a head coaching vacancy. You got a GM vacancy. You have a young quarterback who, look, he looked terrible, but he's a young quarterback. He's an asset, right? He can only go up in theory. I don't know how you can get much worse than this year, but for the Panthers, you really got to make the right move. And if it takes David Tepper taking a step back, holding his ego back, I wouldn't bet on it. I wouldn't do it. Finally, this one really shocked me. Mike Vrabel, fired from the Tennessee Titans. Now, obviously, the Titans, last couple of years, not been great. Not been great. They had that run in 21 where they were the number 1 seed in the AFC, and everybody forgot about it. Even saying that out loud is weird to me, that the Titans were the best team in the AFC in 21, because the Bengals murdered them. Well, they didn't murder them. It was a last-second field goal, but they won. And since then, the Titans have just not been the same. They've gone downhill. And as much as I like Mike Vrabel, you do have to kind of take that responsibility. At the same time, you had guys like Ryan Tannehill start to fall off. You lose some talent as well. You lose AJ Brown. You lose Derrick Henry for a little bit because he was hurt the year prior. I think he was hurt this year as well. It just wasn't working out. And, I think Mike Vrabel, being still a relatively young coach, I think he is certainly going to get a job somewhere. I think he's one of my favorite coaches on a personal level. He seems to really, players want to play for him. Now, as far as a winning coach, he had those runs with Tennessee. Again, he was the number 1 seed in the AFC. He just ran into Joe Burrow. I think, that sort of thing could have happened to any coach. Unfortunately, it happened to him. So I would keep an eye out for Mike Vrabel. So of these, major firings, Mike Vrabel, to me, he is the guy to keep an eye out for. If you're the Chargers, do you give him a call? If you're the Patriots, obviously former player for the Patriots, I'm sure he would make a lot of sense. But that's assuming they actually move along from Bill Belichick, which is still yet to be seen. If you're the Panthers, do you look at Mike Vrabel? I certainly think it wouldn't be a bad idea. I'm trying to think of the other teams that have vacancies. The Raiders. mean, Antonio Pierce, they seem to really like him. The players are vouching for him, but Vrabel's a very good coach as well. And he obviously has more experience as a head coach than Antonio Pierce, but I'm not saying that you do it one way or the other. Who else has a head coaching vacancy? Why am I blanking? I feel like I'm missing a really obvious one. I don't know. Maybe I'm not. But before we move along to that look, I want to take a look at the NFL draft order, because obviously now, barring the playoffs, we have it set in stone. Washington. I forgot to mention them. That might not be a bad hire to bring in Mike Vrabel. That's an option. But number 1 overall pick, obviously going to Chicago, followed by the Commanders at number 2, Patriots at number 3, Cardinals at number 4, and the Los Angeles Chargers picking 5th. I just want to take a look at this mock draft. It's a good way to get an idea of the kind of players that seemingly are going to go there. They have the Bears taking Caleb Williams. Makes sense if they move on from Justin Fields, that is. Drake May going to the Commanders. Jaden Daniels going to the Patriots. Marvin Harrison going to the Cardinals. And Brock Bowers going to the Chargers. I would like that a lot. I think that would make a lot of sense for the Chargers. I think that their situation was coaching, and obviously they still have a very talented team on defense, on offense. They have Justin Herbert. I think you add Brock Bowers and you get a good coach. It'll be a very scary Chargers team. But anyways, the main thing to take away here from all of these firings and all of these things is every NFL season is different, and you expect some things to go a certain way, and you predict things to go a certain way, and largely they don't go that way. So with that being said, we are going to pull up the graphic that I made, and I believe I can pull Seth's up as well really quick here. I gotta scroll to get it. Here we are. I am going to, can I just open? There we go. That works. Now how am I going to do this? Should we do Seth's first? Should we do mine first? Let's do Seth's first. That's mean. That is mean. Actually, you know what? I need to actually just download it. I'm very prepared, as you can tell. Let's just save image. Here we are. We'll just save that there. And what we're going to do is, can I open up MS Paint? Can I just, and then if I open an image, give me just 1 second here, boys. Give me just 1 second. No, not clips. 1 second. Here we go. All right. So can I okay, cool. I need to change that though. Can I undo that? Oh my, did not mean to do that. Undo. There we go. I didn't even notice the undo button. That would be important, wouldn't it? Did I? There, and then color. We'll do green. Okay. Anyways, let me, oh dear. Let me see. Can I share? I did not mean to push that button. All right. This is a live show, by the way. Share screen. Is it this? Wait, that's just like the image. That's not even, oh, that's a website. I was like, wait, why is that the thing? There we go. Here we are. Excellent. Now we're doing things. Okay. All right. Here we go. So this is what I'm looking like. This is rough. This is very, very rough to look at right now. I'm just going to let you guys know. Okay. So I need to look and then also have, let me see if I can, I'm going to put it like here. So it's in front of me, but I think, yeah, you can still, I can do this. This works. So Okay. So, as you can see, this was made at the beginning of the season. This is where I had all the teams going into this year of what kind of win total I thought they were going to have, where I thought they were going to end up. And, they didn't all end up there. So we're going to pull up our NFL standings here. Can I just get league? So we will start from the bottom. Carolina Panthers won 2 games, which is incorrect. So I had them winning at least 3 games. So off to a very bad start here. We're going to go ahead and, I want that to be thicker. Can I get like a marker? Where's marker? I had it. It was like I don't want pencil. This is obviously okay, here we go. Let's do paintbrush. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So this is a big no-no. Panthers did not, in fact, win 3 games. They won 2. So I was close. All right. If they came away with just one more game, it would have been perfect. But no, wasn't great. Next was New England Patriots at 4 wins. I did get this one right. All right. Okay, we're doing good. Look at that. 1-2. Or 1-1. All right. We got the Patriots. Yeah, I mean, Patriots are terrible. I sort of anticipated it the moment they signed Ezekiel Elliott. I thought this was just not a good situation. You're bringing in a vet who nobody else wanted, and you don't really know where you're at quarterback. And Bill Belichick was already showing signs of being kind of washed as a head coach, given the draft selections that he'd made as acting as general manager at that point. But there's not a lot of development. Nothing going on with the Patriots. Not good, Bob. Not great. So I was right about that. The Arizona Cardinals had 4 wins, so I did not expect much from them. And I gotta say they exceeded my expectations, but not by very much, because they were still very bad. But I just figured that when they were going to start Josh Dobbs for the year, I thought that was it. I thought they were just done. I thought they weren't going to ever bring Kyler Murray back. I didn't know what the situation, but they bring him back, and they managed to win. I think they beat the Eagles with Kyler Murray, so they managed to win at least 1 game there. But yeah, I did not think they were going to be I didn't think they were going to be as good as they ended up being. And to say that is funny because they were a 4-win team. So meanwhile, Washington Commanders, they had just 4 wins. I had them at 3 to 5 wins. So I got that one right. Obviously it's got the Redskins logo, but yeah, I just didn't really see much reason to believe in this team. They have a good wide receiver room, and Chase Young and Montez Sweat going into the season, like it was just, there wasn't a whole lot of improvement from the prior year, so there was no reason for me to believe they were going to go much of anywhere. And then obviously with the new ownership, you figure they're kind of moving along, and they finally ended up just selling, and there was no reason to believe that Sam Howell was going to be the guy, and well, he was in fact not the guy. Now this one hurts. The Los Angeles Chargers, who I had all the way in the 9 to 13 range, that was just an awful year for the Chargers. I wish Seth was here to actually observe this live, because it was not fun. It was not fun for him. It was not fun for any Chargers fans. Brandon Staley really showed his behind this year. He was awful. Terrible. So, yeah, not great for the Chargers, and that's unfortunate that I thought they were going to be much better. Hopefully next year. I mean, there's always next year, right? Up next, you have the Tennessee Titans, 6 wins, and they just barely beat me there. I had them winning at most 5 games. They managed to get number 6 final game of the season. They managed to do it. But yeah, I didn't anticipate much from the Titans. Not a very good team. Not a whole lot of good going on in Titan land. So yeah, they fired their head coach at the end of the season. I thought they were going to be one of the worst teams in the league. They were, but just slightly above where I thought they'd be. Up next, though, the G-Men, 6 wins, which is just where I had them. And look, I think the Giants outperformed expectations not this year, the year prior. Daniel Jones obviously having the career year, Dayball, going off. And, well, they kind of just fell back to earth. They lose Daniel Jones, to be fair. But outside of that, they just don't really. Again, there was just not a whole lot of change in that team relative to the league for me to warrant that they were going to be a good team. And, well, lo and behold, they weren't. Up next, the New York Jets. And I wish I would have listened to my initial instinct and put the Jets lower. But I thought maybe Aaron Rodgers would get them like 9 wins. Unfortunately, it was not Aaron Rodgers who got them to 7 wins. It was everybody else, basically. It was Tim Boyle. It was Zach Wilson. It was Trevor Siemian. It was literally everybody else other than Aaron Rodgers. He played just like 2 snaps and then died. I mean, like, it was rough, but I didn't believe that much in the Jets, and I should have just stuck with my guns. I shouldn't have let Aaron Rodgers just deceive me. But lo and behold, here I am. Up next, the Falcons, 7 wins. I got that one right. Yes, sir. Got that one right. There we go. Yeah, I mean, there was not a whole lot of reason to believe in Desmond Ridder. Didn't really know what you were going to get from him, but I thought, they had a decent run game. Drafting Bijan, their offense might be a little tricky. And they pretty much were. They were just kind of like, Some weeks they were like, oh, wow, look at this offense. Kyle Pitts, Bijan, stuff flying all over the air. But most weeks it was like, when they played the Lions where they didn't score a touchdown. And you're like, why is this a real team? How does Roger allow this to happen? Roger, step in, please. Moving on to the Chicago Bears, who I was not a believer in, and they managed to prove me just slightly wrong. Now, I still remain not a believer in Justin Fields, and I think if I was them, I would move along from young Mr. Fields. But that is yet to be seen what they end up doing. We don't even know if they're going to fire Eberflus. I mean, Eberflus has survived Black Monday. So I don't know. I mean, I guess he could stick around, but I wouldn't be feeling good if I was a Bears fan and they were talking about keeping Eberflus. So yeah. Meanwhile, Minnesota Vikings, I had them at 6 to 8 wins and they get 7. Am I? I don't know. I'm not going to get a perfect middle row. Darn you, Green Bay. Darn you. But yeah, Minnesota, I think they were primed to, fall back to earth. Obviously, you lose Kirk Cousins and your whole season pretty much falls apart from there. Combine that with losing Justin Jefferson for some time. I mean, you were rocking out with Nick Mullins, the turnover machine at quarterback those last few weeks. So it was not a great feeling to be a Vikings fan for the final 3 weeks of the season when you had the Lions beat you, the Packers beat you, and the Lions beat you again. Not fun. But I do think that they probably will be better next year, especially with Kirko coming back. But I don't know. It's yet to be seen what kind of quarterback he'll be coming back from the injury, and obviously a year older. It's not easy. Meanwhile, the Denver Broncos, I was not high on them, and I was very, very not high on Sean Payton. And at the beginning, it was looking pretty good for me. It was looking like maybe I was going to be right. But no, they managed to go out and win some games. They looked like garbage against the Lions. So, I mean, they played a real team and they got destroyed. But, yeah, I mean, Broncos, obviously, they're moving on from one Russell Wilson, that whole trade and contract. I mean, that whole situation turning out the way it did is pretty dang surprising. I didn't know if the Russell Wilson thing was going to work out, but the fact that they're just moving on at this point, you thought maybe Sean Payton could figure it out, turn it around, but no, it's just bad all around now. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but 8 wins for the Broncos. Up next, the Raiders. The Raiders. Where did I put the Raiders? Where did I put the Raiders? Are the Raiders not here? Wait, why are the Raiders not here? Wait, am I losing my mind? Are the Raiders just not here? Wait, how did I not notice this beginning when I did this? There's just no Raiders. How did I not notice that? Who made this tier list? Hold on. I'm not losing my mind. The Raiders aren't on here. I'm not losing my mind. Colts, Browns, Rams, Bucks, Texans, Saints, Packers. The Raiders are just straight up not on here. Well, sorry, Vegas. I guess I don't. We need a drop. Hold on. Let's do here. This one will work.
Is the man retarded?
Yes, probably. Whoever made this tier list, he might be. He might be in need of some help. The Raiders weren't very good. Antonio Pierce, Josh McDonald. I don't know why they're not on this. How did I not notice that? How did nobody notice that? I posted this is you people's fault. How did nobody notice the Raiders weren't on this list? Anyways, moving along to the Colts, who I got very wrong. I did not have high expectations for the Colts. I thought Anthony Richardson was going to be a disaster, which in a certain way he was because he kept getting hurt and putting himself in injury situations. But the Colts managed to make it interesting. They went to the final game of the season, chance to win their division, and, well, obviously they did not, but they're an interesting team going forward. And, look, maybe they'll finally have figured it out. Maybe Anthony Richardson will prove me wrong. He was a fun quarterback, but he just kept getting himself into, injury situations. So I don't know. I don't feel very strongly about his chances, but we'll see. We will see. Anyhow, moving along to the Jaguars, who, again, I thought were going to be very good this year and were very not. Or wait, hold on. 9? Wait, did I get them? Yeah, I did. I technically got them right. Now, I thought they would be more than 9 wins, but they got to at least 9 wins, so I got it right. Gosh darn it. Yes. Oh, I hate chewing ice, but it was in my mouth and I didn't know what to, you know what? We're not going to finish that sentence. How do people chew ice? It's terrible. Anyways, yeah, I guess I technically got the Jaguars right, even though they were the most pitiful team going down the stretch. We already talked about them earlier in the show. They are in a pitiful state right now, and I don't know what the situation is. If Trevor Lawrence is the guy, they got to figure it out. But technically, they got to the 9 wins that I thought they would get to at least. But, man, that's they need to figure something out because I thought they'd be a whole heck of a lot better. Just ahead of them, New Orleans Saints, they get 9 wins. Unfortunately, had them getting just 8 at the most. So I got that one wrong as well. They did a little bit better than I was expecting. I thought they would be a pretty middle of the road team, not a great team. Derek Carr being your starting quarterback in 2024 is not exactly the most endearing. And Dennis Allen, who managed to avoid Black Monday, we'll see if that remains. But it's just sort of a weird situation in New Orleans. They have some pieces. They have Chris Olave. Alvin Kamara is still a pretty good running back, but I don't know. They're too mid. Like they need to just completely overhaul and do complete rebuild and just tank for the next quarterback or defensive player. Just get rid of it and start all over. That's what I would do if I was New Orleans. But moving straight along to the Seattle Seahawks, who got to 9 wins, so I managed to get them right as well. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think the Seahawks would be very good, I don't think. I think, yeah, about 9 wins minimum. They're always going to be a feisty team, Pete Carroll. But I expected Geno Smith to kind of take that step back. And at the beginning, it looked like maybe he wasn't. But no, he ended up sort of regressing to the mean a little bit. But still a tough team, still a well-coached team. I think the Seahawks got a bright future. They got lots of young weapons, namely Jackson Smith-Njigba. And their defense continues to just be a Seattle defense. So you keep Pete Carroll around, you keep it going. It's a good team. It's a team that can make the playoffs every other year or so. Moving along to the Cincinnati Bengals. This was my first of the very good teams that I got dead wrong. Now, this one I will not be upset with because I got it wrong because Joe Burrow died, right? Like Joe Burrow's hand no longer included. So I don't know if they would have reached 14 wins had they kept Joe Burrow. or had Joe Burrow stayed, where he was. But man, oh man, they just didn't live up to expectations. I thought maybe this was going to be a year where Joe Burrow could compete for that MVP, and he did not. He is still, hopefully he'll be okay next year, but I don't know. They still got a decent situation. I mean, the fact that, their coach, they managed to get to, 9 wins without their starting quarterback and, all that. I mean, you still got obviously a lot of weapons in Cincy. I think they're still a really good team, but fortunately the injury bug hit them this year, and it's a rough time. Meanwhile, the Packers, they did a little bit better than I thought they would do. So, fortunately, maybe Jordan Love is their guy, and I am so unhappy about that I just want to scream. But I won't scream because that might scare people, and I don't want to scare people. Not tonight, at least. So, fortunately, Packers got them a little bit wrong. So, move along then to the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, who I also got wrong. I did not expect much from the Baker Mayfield-led Buccaneers. I thought Baker was pretty much past his prime. No, he still managed to be a pretty good quarterback. They get into the playoffs. They win their division. It's an interesting Buccaneers team. They still have some weapons left over from that Super Bowl run they had a couple of years back, but we'll see what they can do in the playoffs. I mean, they're going to be playing a Eagles team that's falling from the sky at a rapid rate. So I don't know if it's going to work out, but we'll see. Meanwhile, moving along to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who get 10 wins. And I don't know how, but they just always do. And you know what? I will credit this because I believe I made the selection entirely based on the fact that Mike Tomlin does not have a losing record ever. He's never going to have a losing record. He was going to get to 9 wins one way or the other, so I am glad that I ended up getting that one correct. The Steelers, are they going to the Super Bowl? More than likely not. But you know what? They are always in the playoffs, and they are always a winning team. And I know some Steelers fans don't like Tomlin. They're not a fan of it. They're stuck, in kind of a purgatory. But be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. Up next, the Los Angeles Rams. They get 10 wins. This one I got wrong. I thought Matthew Stafford was going to be done. Thought he was dead. Thought that was it for Matty Stat. No, Matt Stafford, still a very good quarterback, and the Rams, still a very good team. Able to draft in the late rounds, Puka Nacua, Pikachu, my mans. He managed to pull it out. He managed to, show out one of the best rookie wide receivers, one of the best wide receivers in the league, let alone rookie wide receivers. Puka Nacua and the Rams, their offense is electric. Defense, not so much. I thought they would not be very good, but hey, they're in the playoffs. They're going to be playing the Lions on Sunday, so that's going to be an interesting game for sure. Up next, the Houston Texans. This is another one I got dead wrong. I did not believe in one C.J. Stroud, and he must have watched that video because he felt it personally because he doubled the amount of wins that I thought they would get at the max. They got 10 wins this year. They were a very good team. I'm happy that they won their division. They're going to be hosting that home playoff game, and they got a really bright future in Houston. And it's great to see. Obviously, they went through that very dark period after Deshaun Watson kind of fell off the face of the earth where they were just perennial bottom feeders for years. And now they're starting to finally get it. And to see a rookie quarterback make the playoffs, win the division is pretty dang impressive. Pretty dang impressive. Next, we got the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins get to 11 wins. Got that one right. I think we're going to see a lot of me getting them right now in a row here. Got that one right. Yeah, look, a lot of question marks about Tua going into the year, whether or not he was going to be able to stay healthy. I just thought that wide receiver room was just way too deadly. Waddle, Hill, you just pick your poison at that point. And despite the injuries, they've still, they've done pretty good for themselves. Obviously, they're struggling right now, and they're injured going into the playoffs, but still possible that they can make a run. They still, I don't know if Waddle will be healthy for that playoff game, but you got Hill, and you got Tua playing probably his best season yet. And either way, whichever way these playoffs go, they got their coach in Mike McDaniel, and they got a very bright future in Miami. So good to see them do well. Up next, the Philadelphia Eagles. They got 11 wins. I got them wrong. I don't think I got a single one of the top teams right. I'm pretty sure they were all wrong. So that's excellent. But yeah, the Eagles, they're pathetic right now. They're just terrible. I know they have 11 wins, and you think, oh wow, 11 wins, that's a really good team. No, they're awful. they're not good. I don't see them going very far in the playoffs. Matt Patricia's calling your defense. That's all I have to say. Then we have the Cleveland Browns. This team, I was honestly shocked. Shocked more so than probably any other team. Well, maybe not any other team, but a lot of these teams, I was shocked. Mostly, like, the fact that the Browns are now in the playoffs, not because of Deshaun Watson, but because of Joe Flacco. If you would have told me that at the beginning of the year, I would have thought you were on, the kinds of drugs that they sell in the middle of the street in Cleveland. But they're an exciting team, and they're a fun team. Defensively, they're an elite unit. Joe Flacco is playing like 10 years ago, Joe Flacco. It's weird. I don't know how he does it. But look, there's definitely a team that I would be rooting for in the AFC side. Moving along to the Kansas City Chiefs. This was a team that I, thought was going to continue where they left off, and they did not. They were very terrible. They were very, very bad. And needless to say, their very bad is 11 wins and winning their division and hosting a home playoff game. Their offense is stagnant. It's not good. They do not have a whole lot of weapons that can catch the football, but their defense is still very good. So I managed to overhype them in the wins, but obviously still a very good team. How far will Houston go? That's a good question. I don't know that they'll go all that far. I think the lack of experience might hinder them when they have to face a team like, say, Baltimore or Buffalo or any of these teams that have played in the playoffs. It also sort of depends on CJ Stroud. I mean, like, obviously he's been very good this year, but he's still a rookie quarterback, and he's going to be going up against very good teams. And the first team he's got to play is an elite defense in the Browns. So it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one for sure. Moving along, though, to the Buffalo Bills, another team that I got wrong. So yeah, I got all of my top 4 teams. I got them all wrong. What do you even show up to the show for? The Bills, again, like I said earlier in the show, they're a feisty team right now, and they're red hot. They're getting good at the right time. And for Buffalo, I thought they would be a lot better. I thought maybe this was going to be the year Josh Allen really cements himself. And the struggles early on in the year, he still has a bit of a turnover problem. It's hard to say that he is, in the same stratosphere as those uber elite quarterbacks. But at the same time, he's got skills with his feet. He's able to run. He's able to use his legs, get those extra yards. He's got a rocket for an arm. He's still got a great room of weapons. And like we talked about, you got Knox, you got Diggs, you got Davis, you got, Cooks running back. You got it all. And unfortunately, the defense got a lot of injuries. Von Miller goes down, and that whole Von Miller situation is not good. And then they lost a linebacker whose name escapes me, but they lost players on the defensive side. But they managed to figure it out. They managed to win their division. So good for the Bills. They get the win there. And then to the final top 1, 2, 3, 4. That was math. 4 teams. First, the Lions. Now, this one in the video, when we originally posted this, I said the Lions were going to get 12 wins, and I was absolutely right. They got exactly 12 wins. Nothing more to say. I mean, we're going to very, very briefly up after this, we're going to take a look at that game, and we're going to talk about it a little bit. This is going to be a bit of a longer show than I thought it was going to be. I think this is obviously going to take a good portion of the show, but a little bit longer than I anticipated, but that's okay. We'll spend a little bit of time together. It's fine. Whatever. We'll talk about it. Lions, very good team. I think they could catch fire in the playoffs. The problem is no Sam Laporta going into that first game. It's going to be tough against the Rams and that elite offense. You're going to need your offense clicking. And your defense also needs to be winning the turnover battle. That's how they've been playing the last 4 games. Is winning the turnover battle and getting those TFLs and putting offenses in tough spots. So that's going to be the key to victory for them for sure. But yeah, great year for the Lions. Great year for Dan Campbell and all them. So literally, actually, no team got to the 14-win mark. So that's interesting. Anyways, ahead of them in the standings, Dallas Cowboys. Got them right as well. Yeah, I mean, it's Dallas. They are a hyper-talented team. They really aren't going to have a really bad season. Dak Prescott is still a very good quarterback. CeeDee Lamb is an elite wide receiver. You got Brandon Cooks as well. Tony Pollard on an off year was still, mid. Like he was fine, but the fact that Dak was playing at MVP level certainly elevated that team. And then obviously their defense is loaded. Very, very scary defense, especially when healthy. Obviously they lose Diggs, but they still got Micah Parsons. So, stuff. Up next, the San Francisco 49ers. They got 12 wins, so got them right as well. San Fran, they are probably the NFC favorite to go to, if not just outright win the Super Bowl. They're just a unit. I mean, Brock Purdy and Debo and McCaffrey and everybody on that team is good. It was like I seriously I can't think of a weakness on that team. I think they're just too good of a team right now. But yeah, I anticipated them being very good. I suppose I put them in the right place, so I can't be that upset. I was going to say I could have put them in the 14-win stratosphere, but I mean, no team was in that league this year. So ending now with the Baltimore Ravens, whom I also got correct. So that is where we wrap it out there. Obviously, the Ravens, Lamar Jackson signs the extension. They bring in OBJ. They bring in Zay Flowers, in the draft, I mean. So they got something cooking in Baltimore. I really think this is probably the best Baltimore team I've seen in a very long time. So, yeah, I think this could be their chance to make it work. So, meanwhile, I want to see now. So, because this took much longer than I expected, I'm going to see. I'm not gonna show. Well, I won't show Seth's, but you'll have to take my word for it. I just want to count who got more accurately. So, oh dear, this is actually gonna take some level of actual thinking here. So, can I just also open this in MS Paint? Hold on. Oh my. No, that's thumbnails. Wow. You guys can just see all this. You guys like my thumbnails folder? There we go. Do I want to save? Yeah, sure. Why not? Okay. Oh, well, wait, hold on. Go ahead. Okay, cool. Sweet. This is helpful because now I have mine next to it. So I'm just going to real quick do this. So I'm going to match up the ones we both got the same. So Buffalo, Philly, KC, LA. Who else did we get wrong? No. Oh, I should probably make that X a little bigger on LA. There we go. We got all those the same. Viking. I'm trying to see which ones we both got wrong. Oh, Colts, Cardinals, Panthers, Broncos, Browns, Titans. This is very scintillating stuff, I know, guys. Rams. And then this middle row. Packers. Okay, now let me switch to the green. Steelers. San Fran. Baltimore. Detroit. Miami. Jacksonville. Seattle. Minnesota. Atlanta. Washington, and I forgot to mark Houston in the red. Okay. I think that's all the commonalities we have. I think. So we'll just go through really quick now. Because he probably either got some of these right or wrong. All right, so Dallas he got wrong. I don't know why I switched to green. Dallas he got wrong. And I guess I could also just look at the ones I got right that he has in different places. That would be too complicated. Cincy, he got right. Well, yeah, Cincy, he got right. This might be close. Is this the whole row? Okay, so that whole row is done. Chicago, He had them at how many wins? He had them at 6 wins minimum. Where is Chicago? Where's Chicago? There. Yep, he got that one right. Giants, got that one right. Buccaneers, he got that one wrong. Patriots, he got that one wrong. Jets, I think he got that one right. Loser. Why is he so smart? Jets. Saints, he got that one wrong as well. And then we don't know where the Raiders are. They just don't exist in this world. I don't know. Whoever made this tier maker didn't include the Raiders. That's amazing. We'll have to fix that for next year. I think that's everything. Is there any that is not covered? No, that's everything. Okay. So, so let me see if I count up my correct. Well, this is Seth's right now, so let's actually count his up first, and then I'll share my screen with the other one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 correct for one Mr. Seth. Can I just save that image, and then we'll close that, and then let me open mine. Okay, so 12 is the number to beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I got one more. Yes. Victory. I got one more. 13. So, needless to say, this whole exercise that we just did here, this whole thing is all an exercise in showing how we do not know what's going to happen. Teams that you expect to be very good will sometimes be very bad. Teams that you expect to be very bad will be very good. So that's the fun of the NFL, and that is the fun of doing early season predictions when you have basically no information and things. Now, moving along to the Lions game itself. So I did not mean to. There we go. So I want to briefly break down this game. Some of the things I liked, some of the things I did not like, some of the things that just happened. So for one, the defense is the story of this game for me. Again, you had multiple players making plays on the defensive side. The thing was, the Vikings had the ball for longer. Despite that, you give up just one touchdown, you give up just a couple of touchdowns the whole game, and no touchdowns in the first half. That is how you can win games. That is how. Like if you go an entire half, you don't score a touchdown, the odds of you winning that game are very, very low. Obviously, turning over the ball as well. Couple of interceptions. Secondary looking a lot better. You let Nick Mullins throw a lot of yards on you, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter because they were garbage yards, right? You made the stops when you needed to. They weren't getting into the end zone, minus a couple of massive plays that just broke, right? Like broken plays. Those kind of plays are not common in the NFL. Like they weren't marching down the field and scoring. They were, they might have had the ball for longer, but the defense, namely one Aiden Hutchinson, has started to put it together. And Jack Campbell as well. Jack Campbell led the team in tackles. I mean, he had the sack as well. Jack Campbell, again, he's starting to look like the kind of guy you take in the first round as far as linebackers. He's playing well. He's making impacts. His name is being called. Alex Anzalone continued to play well as well, obviously. Hutch with the 3 TFLs, including a couple of sacks. This unit is starting to figure it out. And they're putting pressure on the quarterback like they weren't at the beginning of the season. They're actually getting home on those pressures, right? They're bringing the blitz. They're getting turnovers. And that's been the big difference for me in how this defense has played the last 4 weeks. It's the turnovers. I think in every game since that Broncos game, they've gotten at least one turnover. Now, they very well could have gone undefeated down that stretch. I mean, like, obviously the Cowboys game is Cowboys game, but, needless to say, all of those games, they had a chance to win if they didn't already win at all, right? So that's where they need to keep it up. And obviously you don't want to live and die off turnovers because, turnovers are, not necessarily a product of defense. They're also a product of bad offense. But if you can create those turnovers, if you can create havoc on the quarterback, if you can, knock the ball loose, if you can knock it out in the air at the line, game's going to go your way. And it allows you for when your offense stifles like it did. Obviously, again, offense did not have the ball for very long. Pretty poor rushing game as well. David Montgomery, just 40 yards rushing. Jahmyr Gibbs, 30 yards rushing. Now, I think, just sort of thinking out loud about it, I think some of that was due to a kind of, obviously we don't need to win this game. We're already in the playoffs. We already clinched the home game. We already clinched the division. So no reason to risk our two big running backs getting hurt on a run play. So we'll run the ball when we kind of need to, but we're not going to go for these crazy, kind of runs. But to their credit, both Montgomery and Gibbs both found the end zone. So it wasn't like a completely lackluster. But when both your running backs' longest rush was for 8 yards, it's not a great day for either of them. But the passing game, however, was very good. Goff, 320 yards. Amon-Ra for 144 with the giant 70-yard touchdown. I mean, I don't think anybody was expecting that from Amon-Ra, but I said that Pro Bowl snub, man, he's going to want to have a big game, and he sure as heck did. I still don't know how he didn't make the Pro Bowl. I get it's fan voted now. It's not, what it used to be, but I mean, he is one of the best wide receivers in this league, and the fact that the fans did not vote him in, I don't know what this guy's got to do for people to really start to notice him. He just catches the football. Like he doesn't make, the one hand. He's not OBJ. He's not Calvin Johnson. He's not Randy Moss. He's not Justin Jefferson. He's just a dog. And his stats show it. He's one of the top receivers in the league. And I love him. I love this guy. But obviously the biggest takeaway with this is the loss of Sam Laporta. Laporta was having a decent game, 5 catches for 29 yards, had the touchdown, and unfortunately hyperextends his knee. Likely going to miss Sunday's game against the Rams, which is really, really unfortunate. However, some good news. Brock Wright, backup tight end, is apparently going to be practicing this week. So hopefully we can have the backup tight end, Brock Wright, who was a solid tight end last year for the Lions when they traded away Hawkinson. So not that he's going to be as impactful as Laporta has been. Laporta is one of the best tight ends in the league right now, certainly one of the best rookie tight ends. But if you can get Brock Wright back, you have something of a chance. But there was a quote from Campbell who said there was an outside chance that Laporta plays this game. I get it. It's playoffs. Your season's on the line every single week. If you think you can go, you might take a little bit more risk just to go. But at the same time, you're a rookie. You don't want to throw away your career trying to play a game where you're not fully there yet. And I know this coaching staff is not going to put him in a bad situation. But look, losing Laporta, it's not great. And then obviously also Khalif Raymond went down. Don't know what his status is going to be. He had a really great day in special teams with a lot of great punt returns. And then obviously he had a couple of nice catches as well on the offense. Now, the thing with him is, he basically just gets replaced by Jamison Williams, who is apparently practicing this week, and he will be ready to go. So, you lose Khalif Raymond, but you replace him with J-Mo. I don't think J-Mo is going to be returning punts necessarily, but maybe I don't know. Maybe they'll put him on special teams. I don't know. He's got a lot of speed, so wouldn't be surprised. But outside of that, the other thing I want to take away is a kicker. This is now like the third week in a row where we've had a missed extra point one way or the other. I think against Minnesota, one was like blocked or just like missed. I don't know what it was. Like, I don't know what it is with this team, with this regime. We've had a kicking carousel since we got here. We had a bunch of terrible kickers in 21. Then we had Patterson. I think near the end of 21, it was like, okay, maybe we can rock it with Riley Patterson. We get rid of Patterson, bring in Michael Badgley. Michael Badgley is just sort of okay. And then we get rid of Badgley and we bring back Patterson. And we're like, okay, we're back to Patterson. All right, excellent, cool. And then we get rid of Patterson and we bring back I'm like, what are we doing? Can we pick one? Badgley's not like amazing, but like, inside 50 yards, he's pretty decent. Same with Patterson. I just like, I don't really get it. I don't know if maybe we got to draft a kicker. Maybe we got to pick somebody up. I don't know what it is, but kicking situation's got to get figured out because I really don't want this to come down to, a 50-some yard field goal for the win, and we got to throw Badgley or we got to throw Patterson or whoever we end up throwing out there, and they send it wide left. Just obviously Ford Field is indoor stadium, so it makes it a little bit easier on kicker. But I don't know. I guess maybe I'm just spoiled from having Matt Prater for those few years. And then obviously you had Jason Hansen, who was one of the better kickers in franchise history. But that is where we're going to cut the NFL stuff. Actually, you know what? Did I even preview the playoffs? I just realized that was one of the things I was going to do. I haven't even previewed the playoffs. So here we go. I guess we'll do the predictions at the end of the show anyway. But as far as the Lions game, we'll just talk about that. Lions at home up against the Rams. Matthew Stafford coming back to Detroit for the first time since he was traded. Second meeting between these teams since the trade happened. They played in 21. Obviously, the Rams ended up winning the Super Bowl that year, and the Lions were very not good. Goff visited LA that time, so it was the first time Goff had played in LA since getting traded. Didn't win the game, but this game hopefully has a different result than that last one. I think the Lions are overall the better team, but that offense for the Rams is very scary. Like I mentioned earlier, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Pikachu. I know that I heard. I don't know if I created that nickname. I think maybe I heard it somewhere. I think it's funny because his name is just crazy. Puke Nukem, Pikachu. And Matthew Stafford, and obviously, they're a shell of the team that they were in 21, but they're still a deadly team. And obviously, it's going to be on the road. The Lions, I believe, are 3.5 point, or it's on the road for the Rams. Lions, obviously, 3.5 point favorites. And this is another primetime game. The Lions have played incredibly well in primetime. Just the one loss this season against the Cowboys in a game they probably should have just won, but whatever. So I do think the Lions are going to win. We're going to get into the predictions at the end of the show. But I do think the Lions are going to win this game, but I don't think it's going to be like a blowout. Sure, it would be nice. It'd be nice to have just a totally stress-free wild card weekend, get to see the Lions finally get over that hump, win that playoff game. Haven't won a playoff game since 1991, and it's the only playoff win they have in the Super Bowl era. So really want to get over that hump because that is an embarrassing statistic for the Lions. But now we can move along to other things, namely one, Michigan Wolverines. They did the thing. They did the thing, and they won the national championship in football. And, you could just tell I'm super enthusiastic about it while I'm also trying to pull up the page for it. I had it, and then now I don't have it. Hold on. Can I get the scores? What is happening? There we go. Scores. Here we go. Okay. One moment. So, as I'm rambling on here we go. I must have accidentally exited out. Anyways. So, Michigan. They pulled it off, finally. And now, here's what I'm going to say here. All right. There's a lot I can say about this. All right. Obviously, people know, or at least if they don't know, they should know. I'm a Michigan State fan. I hate Michigan. I never root for Michigan. Hope they lose every single game they play. Obviously, this season has been just amok with controversy revolving around this Michigan team. We're not going to talk about it. All right? I've made an executive decision. Right now, we're not going to talk about the controversy. Needless to say, we're not going to. It's not a debate that's going to happen. All right? We're going to talk football. That's all we're going to talk about. We're not going to talk about any of that stuff. So that's that. Just wanted to get that out of the way before anybody, drops in Sparty sucks comments. So yeah, just point it out. We're just going to talk strictly football. And Michigan straight up dominated. They straight up murdered. Washington couldn't get out of their own way. Michael Penix played probably one of the worst games he's had all season. And he's had a few bad games. Don't get it twisted. But, I mean, you just had to have it in this game. He threw the ball 51 times. He got just 251 or 55 yards, only one touchdown and 2 interceptions. And the run game for Washington was absolutely awful. Dylan Johnson, I know he was coming off of the injury, and I mean, I didn't know that the loss of the run game was going to play this much of an impact in their offense, but it did. And to Washington's credit and to Michigan's discredit in a way, Washington had so many opportunities to get this game back into reach, to tie it up, take a lead, what have you. And they just never did. It was a one-possession game going into the third quarter. They started with the football, first play, Michael Penix throws an interception. I felt like at that point, Michigan was just, going to finish them off. Now, obviously, Michigan ends up just kicking the field goal there, but it wasn't until that fourth quarter where Michigan really just put it on. But the story of the day is Michigan's running game being easily one of, if not the most dominant running game in college football, maybe ever at this point. I don't know if ever, but this run game was just absolutely electric. You had Blake Corum run for 134 yards, a couple of touchdowns. You had Donovan Edwards, who up to this point was on a milk carton, show up in the biggest stage, had just 6 carries for 104 yards and a couple of touchdowns. I couldn't believe it. This guy ran for 40 plus yards as a long. Like, he had 2 massive touchdowns on the first couple of drives for Michigan on offense. Like, there really wasn't a whole lot of the rushing was the offense. The run game was the offense for Michigan. And that's all it took, because Michigan's defense is, or I guess the season's over, was one of the most impenetrable units in college football maybe ever. I mean, this is a defense that didn't give up. I think there was a stat, they didn't give up 25 points or more for the first time in like 100 years. Not for Michigan, for like ever. Like, the last team to do it was in like 1902 or something like that. Like, before they had a forward pass and before there was, more than 11 guys playing on a total team. Like, it was amazing. And it's guys like Sanders Hill. It's guys like Junior Colson. It's guys like, what's his name? Will Johnson, all making plays, interceptions, passes deflected. Weirdly enough, only 1 sack on the day for the defense. But despite that, it was just impenetrable. It was a unit that just would not, would not stop a team. Like, it didn't matter what situation Washington was in. They could have been in their own territory. It was just, they just couldn't do anything. I was utterly shocked. I was. I went in expecting Michigan to win this game, but I thought maybe this would be a little bit close. I thought maybe it would be a bit of a shootout potentially. But it wasn't. It wasn't. Michigan just beat them to death. And credit to them. Like, again, we're not getting into the controversy, but they had a lot of stuff going on in the media and, outside circles with the NCAA, with all that stuff, with idiots like me yelling at them. They managed to figure it out, and that team played like a team. And I can't remember exactly where I saw or heard this, but it really embodied Michigan football. It embodied, that spirit of the past Michigan teams, of Bo Schembechler, of the team. Like, this is, like, are all of these guys, future Hall of Fame pro players? I mean, you never really know, obviously, in college, but, not really necessarily. I mean, they got a fine wide receiver room. Roman Wilson's a decent guy. Colston Loveland, a decent tight end. Cornelius Johnson, a solid receiver. But, none of these guys are, necessarily first-round picks. I mean, you got Blake Corum, who's one of the better running backs in this class. But, running backs obviously being devalued in the NFL. It changes the situation. Donovan Edwards, I mean, he had the one really good game last night. But and J.J. McCarthy, he's a serviceable quarterback. He's certainly not a bad quarterback. But, he's not Caleb Williams. He's not Jaden Daniels. He's not those kind of guys. And that's not really what he's supposed to be fair. But This to me was the team. And it sucks as a Spartan fan to have to see this and have to, know that for however many years it takes until Michigan State is back on the face of the earth as a football team, if they're ever at this level, I'm going to have to live with, well, we got a national championship in 2024 and you guys, you got a playoff berth, or, you won the Big Ten. It doesn't matter. But maybe the expanded playoffs, it changes things for Michigan State's odds to do that. I don't know. I don't even know if we hired the right guy. So we'll see about that. But for Michigan and for the fans, right now, you got to enjoy it. You got to just enjoy it for the moment. We don't know what the situation is going to be with Jim Harbaugh. We don't know what the situation is with some of these guys committing to the draft. If JJ is going to go in the draft, Blake Corum is definitely going in the draft. I don't think he has any more years of eligibility. I know they have a lot of linemen that are going to be going in the draft. You don't know what kind of team you're going to get next year. And I point this out in general, not just for Michigan, enjoy the run while you're on it, because you can go from one year being the best team in the world, being national champions, to the very next year being nothing, being a total laughingstock, and nobody even cares that you won the national championship. So you got to enjoy it while you have it. So congratulations to Michigan on your national championship win. As much as it pains me to have to say that, it is the reality. But, hey, basketball season. Am I right, guys? Am I right? Michigan State losing to Northwestern for the third straight year, first time since 1962. Great. Wonderful. I'm going to – hold on. Where's the drop? There it is.
Ow!
That's me. Throwing myself off a ledge and hitting myself in the head. That's me. Now, briefly, before we get into the picks for the playoff games, got a couple of NBA news things. Just a couple, all right? One is Pistons related. One is not Pistons related. We'll start with the Pistons related one, because the Pistons are currently playing right now. They're losing to the Kings 69-65 in the third quarter, and they haven't had a field goal in like 9 minutes. What the hell is that stat? I'm looking at the Bally Sports Bally bar, and I see Pistons haven't had a field goal in 8:40-41. Huh? Anyways, Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham gets hurt, missing some time. Apparently, I saw something. It was up to 7 to 10 days, which is roughly like 3 or 4 games, somewhere around that line. I don't know exactly what their schedule is looking like. I know they have a back-to-back today and tomorrow, but yeah, you lose your best player, and this is now the third year in a row where Cade Cunningham has gone down with an injury and has missed, more than just one game. Unfortunately, we don't Cade is having his best year, and Cade is the only player worth watching on this Pistons team. So when he goes down, it's just terrible. It's terrible coaching. It's terrible players. It's terrible everything. And we're still waiting on somebody getting fired. We've won 3 total games this year, and we're in January, and nobody really has been fired, at all. We hired a new assistant coach or something. That's the only change. So it's hard to feel any level of care, even when Cade goes down, because it's like, oh, well, whatever. The season was done anyway. If I was him and I slightly tweaked my knee, I would just, I'm done for the season. I don't want to play anymore. That's what I would do. But that's why they get paid the big bucks, and I just yell at them. Speaking of injuries, Ja Morant out for the season due to an injury he suffered in practice. We're talking about practice. Shout out Allen Iverson. One moment. Talk about a nightmare year for the Grizzlies. Last year, you were exiting the year, felt like might have had something. Obviously, you lose to the Lakers, but, you got something cooking. You go and you get Marcus Smart, making upgrades, and the team just sucks. And the team's just terrible. And the team was showing some life with Ja Morant coming back from suspension, and then he's dead. He really shot himself in the foot. Comedy? I don't. No, he didn't shoot himself in the foot, literally. Although, based on his trigger discipline, I'm surprised he hasn't shot himself in the foot. But no, it's probably the biggest superstar injury so far this season, as far as guys out for the year. It's weird. There really hasn't. There's been a few injuries. I remember Jamal Murray was hurt for a little bit, and obviously now we have Cade Cunningham out for a little bit. But outside of those two injuries and now John Morant, they're really, maybe I'm just, not paying as much attention, but it doesn't seem like there has been really many injuries in the NBA this year. So, again, maybe I'm totally misremembering somebody important, but I don't know. But I thought I mentioned that just because it was big news, and it sucks for the Grizzlies because I was kind of liking the Grizzlies until, bad things started to just continue to mount on top of them, and John Morant just being an idiot. So, yeah, they are nothing without him, and unfortunately, he is not a reliable player as far as staying healthy. And this was the sort of thing that I mean, like, people were making comparisons to Derrick Rose, and it's like, well, Derrick Rose had a bit of an interesting career, peaked very, very early in his career, and injuries got to him. And hopefully that's not the case with John Morant, because he's so much fun to watch when he's on the court. But if he keeps getting hurt, that athleticism is going to start to go, and he's going to have to develop a new game. And, yeah. What's funny, too, is Derrick Rose is on the Grizzlies this year. So, isn't he? I remember, yeah, because he went to Memphis, right? And now he's back on the team. Well, he's on the pro team. But anyways, we have now reached the near end of the show. We are at the point where we do the picks. Now, before we actually do the picks for the postseason, obviously the picks for the postseason are going to be much shorter little clip here. But for the entire regular season, I counted it all up to determine who was the ultimate winner of the Pick'em League. And Mr. Seth, who has not been on the show for like 3 months at this point, despite him sending in those picks, shout out to Seth. He's still here. He just Home Depot is just a terrible occupation. I would not recommend it. I wouldn't. And this is an ad against Home Depot. Anyways, he finished the season with a record of 171 to 101, 629 total success rate. I, on the other hand, finished with a 165 and 107, 607 win percentage rate. So, it was rough because I thought I was doing all right. And then I started counting. I was like, oh, I'm just losing. So that's unfortunate. But we do, of course, still have playoffs, so we're going to go ahead and rock and roll. So let's get the Muzak. Let's see. We were on this one, I believe. Ooh. Great. Oh, let me turn it up a little bit. Okay, that should be good. All right. So, wild card weekend. This is the most amount of games you'll have on a weekend until the next year, basically. Like, actually, that's kind of weird to imagine. But Saturday night football. You got Browns, Texans. Seth is taking the Browns to win this game. And look, as much as I love the Browns defense and as much as I find them to be fun, I'm taking the home dogs. I'm going to do it. I know Texans don't have the playoff experience, and playoff Joe Flacco is a bad man. He's a scary, scary man. As in, he kills you, like in ways you didn't think were possible. He'll kill you. I love the underdog story of the Texans. Do I think it's going to necessarily work out? I don't know, but I'll take the Texans just to switch it up and make things interesting so that we're not just picking the same teams here. Up next, Dolphins facing the Chiefs on the road in Arrowhead. Seth is taking the Fins, and I guess I will also disagree here. I'm going to take the Chiefs. As much as the Chiefs are not good, the Dolphins have just sort of hit a bit of a a wall in terms of their, success rate on a week-to-week basis. They've gotten some injuries, and the Chiefs, on the flip side, have a really good defense. And I don't think they're going to just get the top taken off of them with, Hill, and I don't know if Waddle will be available. But I just... It's tough to bet against the Chiefs in the playoffs in Arrowhead. So, yeah, give me the Chiefs to take the win here. Up next, the Steelers facing the Bills. Seth taking the Bills. Yeah, no, you got to take the Bills. Mason Rudolph is a fun story, but I don't think it's going to end well here because it's going to be in Buffalo. It's going to be freezing cold. We're talking early to mid-January in Buffalo. I don't think it's legal to live there and go outside at this time of year. So, yeah, give me the Bills. Joshy Allen, he's starting to turn it on. That Bills team is getting hot at the right moment. And the Steelers, they managed to get in the playoffs, but they have to have their early playoff exit, as is tradition. So give me the Bills. Up next, the Packers taking on the Cowboys on the road. Seth is taking dem boys, and I'm going to agree. I think Jordan Love certainly played above what people were expecting, certainly what I was expecting of him, but he doesn't have the playoff experience yet, and this is a good Cowboys team. It's going to be a Mike McCarthy revenge game against his old team. It's going to be weird having a Cowboys and Packers game without Aaron Rodgers involved. It's kind of interesting, but yeah, I think that the Cowboys are going to come away with the win here. They score far too many points, and despite the fact that Jordan Love has had a really good statistical year, the offense in the last couple of weeks has really not scored a lot of points. And so I think if it's a shootout, I just trust CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, and the Cowboys offense a lot more than I do the Packers, even though, Packers are certainly a decent team and they have a good future. But give me them boys. Up next, the Rams. Matthew Stafford coming home. Take on the Lions. Seth is taking the Lions. And, of course, I will agree. I'm taking the Lions here. Lions are 3.5-point favorites in this game. It's at home. Ford Field is going to be rocking. First ever playoff game in Ford Field. Prime time. NBC. Mike Tirico. It's going to be a hell of a time. I think the Lions are going to win this game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a lot closer for comfort than I would want it to be. I think I may actually die live on stream when we broadcast that game together. But yeah, I'm gonna take the Lions here. I think that defense for the Rams is gonna be the end all. It's gonna be their Achilles. And the Lions defense is getting better at the right time. Obviously, CJ Gardner-Johnson's gonna be back. Fortunately, the loss of Sam Laporta is gonna stifle our offense probably a little bit. But we just have so many weapons on offense that it's gonna be a lot harder, I think, for the Rams defensively to stop us. And I think our defense has been playing well the last few weeks, so give me the Lions. And finally, the Eagles, the Birds, taking on the Buccaneers. Seth taking the Birds, and I talked about it earlier in the show. I'm taking the Buccaneers. I'm taking them. I know it's absurd. The Buccaneers, who won that division that was so awful. But look, the Eagles are playing the worst football I've ever seen the Eagles play in the past couple of years. They're just terrible. And they're going to go on the road, take on a Bucs team that's red hot right now, that wants to, make a splash in the playoffs. Meanwhile, the Eagles just look done. I mean, look, Aperture's calling your defense. Enough said. Give me the Buccaneers. Just end it. No more. All right, so to wrap it up, here we go. Browns, Texans. Seth is taking the Browns. I am taking the Texans. Dolphins, Chiefs. Seth is taking the Dolphins. I am taking the Chiefs. Steelers, Bills. We are both taking the Bills. Packers, Cowboys. We are both taking the Cowboys. Rams, Lions. We are both taking the Lions. And Eagles, Buccaneers. Seth is taking the Eagles. I am taking the Buccaneers. And those are your wild card playoff picks. All right. So, with that, that is the end of the show. It was a longer one. It's actually a much longer one. I was not anticipating it being this long of a show. But, it was a fun time. We had a good time here. Obviously, just to point out, next week we'll be live for the Rams-Lions game. It'll be Sunday evening, so it'll be a late night show. Should be a whole lot of fun. Hopefully, a lot of people show up, hang out, and hopefully we're looking at Lions victory. But again, we'll be back next Tuesday, regardless of the result, regardless of anything. Break down everything going on in the NFL playoffs, break down whatever is going on in the rest of the sports world. And yeah, so appreciate y'all for coming out. And how about them Lions? Hopefully they get a win. I didn't know where I was going with that. I actually just had a real life stroke. That's crazy. So have a good night, everybody. And I will see you hopefully Sunday night. See you later, everybody.